Hi Year 2, Miss Wilson here for our second science lesson. So we're carrying on learning all about living things. Today is Thursday, the 4th of March 2021. Today we will learn about something called Mrs. Gren. And we will try to understand the 7 characteristics of Mrs. Gren. Then you'll be making a poster all about one of those 7 characteristics. What am I talking about when I say Mrs. Gren? Well, for something to be alive, it must have 7 characteristics. So 7 things must be true for it to be alive. And we're going to have a look at those now. The reason we call it Mrs. Gren is because if you put all the 7 words together, the first letters of those words spell Mrs. Gren. So it's a mnemonic to help us remember these words. The first word is movement. So if something can move by itself, then that is one of the characteristics for making it a living thing. So we can move, we are living things. The second word is my turn, respiration. Respiration. Respiration means breathing. If something can breathe, then it is a living thing. So we breathe as humans and plants breathe as well, just obviously in a slightly different way to us. The S in Mrs. Gren is my turn, sensitivity. Sensitivity. That means that the living thing reacts to things around it. So this dog here is really cold, so he is reacting to the cold. His nose is moving, his tail is wagging, and his fur is blowing in the wind. If we go outside in the sun, we often have to squint our eyes because it's so sunny. That is our body reacting to the things around it. The G, the G for Mrs. Gren is my turn, growth. Growth. So that means something changes throughout its life. So this plant grew from a seed all the way up into a flower. And we as humans grow from babies all the way up to adults. So if something grows, that's one of the 7 things it needs to do to be classed as a living thing. The R, the stands for my turn, reproduction. Reproduction. That means that something has a life cycle. So we've looked at life cycles of humans and of animals. So it means that at the end of a life cycle, the animal or the living thing produces another of its own. So that could be through giving birth, through laying an egg, or plants spread their seeds around. The next word is my turn, excretion. This means that if something is living, it gets rid of its waste. So humans and animals do this through going to the toilet. So going for a poo, going for a wee, that is excretion. And plants do it through getting chemicals out of them. So if something excretes, it is a living thing. The next word is my turn, nutrition. Nutrition. We've learnt a bit about nutrition when looking at healthy eating. So if a living thing needs food to survive, then that makes it living. So as humans, we eat food, and plants, they need to get nutrients from the ground. So for something to be living, it has to have all 7 of those. It has to be able to move, to breathe, it has to react to the world around it, it has to grow, it has to reproduce, it has to excrete, and it has to need nutrition. It has to eat in some way. Can you think of an example of a living thing? Shout them at me now. You're right. We are living things. Animals are living things such as squirrels, dogs, whales, dolphins, and plants and trees are also living things. So, is this a living thing? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Is this a living thing? It is a living thing. It does all 7 of these things. A horse moves, breathes, reacts to the world around it. A horse grows. We know they start a lot smaller. They reproduce, they give birth to other horses. We know horses excrete, it can get quite smelly, can't it? And we know that horses eat, so that means it is a living thing. Is this a living thing? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Yes, it is. This one isn't quite as obvious, but they do move slightly. They breathe in their own way. They react, don't they? So if it's sunny, the flowers open up, but if it's not sunny, they may close up. They grow, they start as a seed and grow into a flower. They reproduce, they produce new flowers. They excrete by getting rid of chemicals out of their stems. And they get nutrition from the ground. So they don't eat like us through a mouth, they soak it all up through their roots. Is this a living thing? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. This is not a living thing. It used to be a living thing when it was attached to a tree. It used to do these things. But now it's fallen off the tree, it does not do all of these things, so it is no longer living. We would call that dead. This leaf is dead. It used to move, it used to breathe, it used to react, but now it cannot do any of these things. Is this a living thing? Thumb up or thumb down? No, this is not a living thing. It used to be a living thing. When it was growing, it was a living thing. It lived on a plant, which is living, and it grew. But now that it's been picked, ready for us to eat, it cannot do these things anymore. So this is dead, this is no longer living. Is this a living thing? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes, it is. A worm is a living thing. It does all 7 of our Mrs. Gren things. Last one. Is this a living thing? Thumb up or thumb down? No, this is not a living thing. And this has never been alive. Things made out of plastic have never been alive. They're not living and they're not dead. They have never done these things. They have been man-made by humans. So that was a quick introduction to Mrs. Gren and the idea of what things are living. Your job today is to choose one of the 7 characteristics of Mrs. Gren and then make a poster all about that characteristic. I've shown an example of mine. I chose to do growth. On your poster, I want you to include some examples of living things. So if I chose movement, I might draw a poster, write the title, so a living thing needs to move, draw a picture of something moving, and then around the outside put some examples of living things that move. You can do this in any way you want. You could draw it, you could make it on Google Slides or on Google Docs, however you would like. Well done everybody, and I hope you enjoy making your posters.